obesity epidemic can be traced back to our changing environment and the profound effect that it's having on our lifestyles. You see, basic physiology tells us that if you consume too much energy and you don't use it up, your body stores it as fat. Hence, the rise of obesity is a sign that collectively we're eating too much energy-dense food and not moving enough. And the simple reason we're overfeeding and being underactive is because we can. It's as simple as that. Our modern environment enables and even encourages it. And I want to say, if you struggle with your weight, it's not all your fault. In so many aspects, our physical surroundings and the cultures we live in make the easy choices the unhealthy choices. But we can do something about it. The solution to combating the obesity epidemic, as well as many other health problems facing us today, lies in re-engineering our environment to one that nudges us to make healthier lifestyle choices. And we can take an active role in that re-engineering by changing our surroundings. In this session, we explore the various environments and situations that we find ourselves in on a day-to-day basis, like our homes and our workplaces. And we help to provide you with some tips to help you adapt your environment for optimal health, to increase the supportive factors and diminish the ones that undermine your efforts to make good choices. And by re-engineering your environment, you can make the healthy choice an easier choice. And over time, positive choices turn into positive habits, setting us up for success as you journey towards living more.
Welcome everyone. That was a great introduction. As always, I'd like to thank my producer, Daryl Ludington, and thank you to Dr. Morton for that introduction. I am Dr. Sal. I'm the Medical Director for the Lifestyle Medicine Institute and the CHIP program. I want to welcome everyone that's been here before and welcome to the new attendees. For the new people who are just joining us today, you missed a great show last week with Dr. John Kelly, who is the founding president of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine and a lifelong champion for lifestyle medicine and the CHIP way of life. And before that, we had a great program with Dr. Hans Diehl, who is the founder of the CHIP program. So we've had a great couple of sessions, but don't fret for anyone that's on the line. We have another great show coming up next week, as well as this week, obviously. Next week, you're going to hear from Dr. Jennifer Lovejoy, who is another one that's on our lifestyle medicine team. She is the Vice President for Innovation and Strategy. She is a PhD, so Dr. Jennifer Lovejoy, and she's going to talk about managing stress during a global pandemic. So that's going to be another great show. So welcome to everyone. Before I get on with things, if you can put your questions in the chat box, that would be great, and I'll try to get to as many questions at the end as I can. We have a poll and a quiz, so I'll read the first one. The simple reason we're overfeeding and we're being underactive is A, global warming, B, food additives, C, because we can. And it looks like we have 100% of the individuals who already answered that because we can, as Dr. Morton said, which is so true. Really, because we can basically means that because everything is easy in this society. We have fast food restaurants all over the place. We have elevators and escalators. So we've made the unhealthy choices the ones that we go to. And the next question, the unhealthy lifestyle choices are often the fault of lack of willpower, culture and physical surroundings, or big pharma. So this is the second one, and it looks like everybody answered it. There's a few that answered lack of willpower. Most of the people, 92% of the individuals answered our culture and our physical surroundings. So yes, we have created a society where it is so easy to get food that's unhealthy. It's so easy to just click a button and change the channels on the television. So we've made the unhealthy choices the defaults, if you will. And excuse me, we'll talk a little bit more about what's actually happened as a result of that. And we've developed another epidemic. We talked, about the pandemic in the past, but we have this epidemic of obesity and what's actually causing the epidemic of obesity. We're going to look at clip 1, and then we'll chat about that a little bit more.
The world is changing, and it's changing rapidly. Do you know that for the first time in history, more people die from the ill effects of being overweight than underweight? Did you hear that? 65% of the world's population now lives in countries where overweight and obesity kills more people than malnutrition. You see, since 1980, obesity has more than doubled globally, and obesity is linked to numerous conditions such as heart disease, musculoskeletal disorders, and it accounts for nearly half of type 2 diabetes cases. So clearly we have a major crisis on our hands. It's an epidemic. And the question must be asked, what is the cause of it? Well, the real cause of obesity is often misunderstood. For example, it's often commonly thought that obesity is in our genes. But while there is no doubt that some people are more predisposed than others to gaining weight, our genes are not our fate. Just because a person has a tendency to put on weight, they're not destined to be overweight. You know, we know that while genes might load the gun, it's our lifestyle that pulls the trigger. Another misunderstanding is that obesity is related to a character flaw or some sort of weakness. You know, too often, overweight individuals are labelled as gluttons or lazy. But not only is this inaccurate, it's also unfair. After all, there are plenty of thin people who have no ability to control their food intake and are not partial to moving if they don't have to. The real cause of obesity goes beyond genetics or lack of willpower, neither of which have changed enough in the population at large over the past 30 years to explain the burgeoning rise in obesity. But instead, the obesity epidemic can be traced back to our changing environment and the profound effect that it's having on our lifestyles.
So I just want to reiterate a few things that Dr. Morton said. Since 1980, the incidence of obesity has doubled, leading to an increased risk and incidence of all chronic illnesses that we see, many cancers, and also deaths from COVID, from the coronavirus. So you can see the slides up on the screen here, and we actually look at the statistics, a doubling since 1980, which is amazing. And the issue of the association between obesity and death is tremendously alarming, because this really is another wake-up call for Americans to get involved in lifestyle medicine programs such as CHIP in order to regain our health and well-being. I mean, that really is the goal. And just remember that CHIP is not a nutrition program. It's a lifestyle program that is a solution to the healthcare crises that we deal with today. I mean, every single chronic illness is really related in a big way to lifestyle. So we saw that, the one slide, the incidence of obesity has doubled since 1980. What about the causes of obesity? So you can see that there is a link here. And when you actually look at weight problems in and of themselves, weight as a health problem, it creates so many complications. It's associated more with, as I mentioned before, the coronavirus and the risk of severe disease as a result of that. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, the risk just goes on, and all the consequences go on and on. And then Darren also mentioned this is not really related to genetics. And so many of my patients will come in and say, well, I have heart disease because it runs in the family. It's just a genetic thing. What we really have to remember is that what we inherit in most cases is an unhealthy lifestyle. It's not bad genes. It's the fact that we inherited this unhealthy lifestyle, the way our parents and grandparents might have lived, might have eaten, their lack of exercise, so on and so forth. So we can't blame it on genetics, but there are other things that we can do to make a difference. And the term obesogenic, we live in this obesogenic environment where food is easily accessible. Most people live a sedentary life. All of the conveniences of the American way of life have really contributed to the rise of chronic diseases over the years. And this is really what has brought on so many health problems that we know that we can help reverse. So the next clip talks about how do we negotiate the sugar bowl. So we'll look at clip 2.
In many workplace environments, the sugar bowl is front and center. And while it's a lovely gesture, I don't know about you, but my arm, look, it's doing it again, just starts to take stuff and put it in my mouth. Now, Anya, as a friend, and a dietitian, give me some tips. How do we negotiate the sugar bowl?
Well, here's a thought, and it's not rocket science, but just take it away. Or at least put it in a place where you don't see it all day.
So one first tip is actually take the candy bowl and delegate it to some dark abyss somewhere that I'm not going to constantly be tempted. That's a good start.
What you could also do is put the candy out of the bowl and put some fruit in there and leave that in places where you see them all the time.
Okay, and now imagine this concept of actually making easily accessible good foods and the not so good ones harder to find applies at home as well. Now I find in my own pantry, there's certain foods that seem to call out to me, like from behind the door, it's like, Darren, we're in here, come and eat me. And it's not all foods, it's the sweets and the cakes and the biscuits. Broccoli, very silent, strangely silent. How can we apply this same sort of principle at home?
Same thing applies there. If it's not in your pantry, it won't tempt you, so don't go and buy it. Most of us eat not because we're hungry, but because it's a habit or just because it's there. So ask yourself, am I really hungry? If yes, eat the fruit. If not, well, what might help is just drink a glass of water, because often we confuse thirst and hunger.
Right.
So really looking at that and seeing that, again, you have this candy bowl on your desk and somebody comes by and just takes it. I mean, these are the things that we call the easy button. It's easy to grab something that's unhealthy, but if you take that away, as was mentioned in the video, and put some healthy fruit there or healthy snacks there, hopefully that will be the easy button and you'll be able to grab something that's healthier. So really changing, the message here is changing the surroundings in order to change your health. Adapting the environment so that you're maintaining optimal health by having that as the easy button, and turn these positive choices into positive habits, making sure that you're doing the same things on a regular basis that will keep you healthy. Removing the temptations, as she mentioned, just not buying the food. And it sounds simple, but obviously when you're at the store, with the grocery store, try not to buy the unhealthy snacks, because in most cases, if they're not in the house, you're not going to be eating them. And, just doing those simple things really makes a tremendous difference. So simple solutions to a complicated problem. Now, what about when you're traveling? We all travel, and I guess after this pandemic is resolved, for the most part, people will start traveling again on the road, on the planes. How do you make choices when you're traveling? And we'll look at video clip number 3 next.
Now, Anya, tell me, what's some tips you can share with me for making better food choices when we're out on the road or traveling?
Well, as you know, I love traveling. I do it a lot. And there are a few things I do to make sure that I eat well while I'm away and away from home. So the first thing I do, I always pack something healthy to eat. So that's a couple of sandwiches, fresh fruit, dried fruit, some nuts, and always a lot of water. And the same applies when I'm traveling by plane. On long distance flights, you dehydrate a lot, so I always have a big bottle of water with me that I refill regularly, and I have my fruit and healthy snacks with me.
Okay, so tip number 1 sounds to me like be prepared. That's the first thing. What else have you got?
Well, it's always a good idea to research the place that you're going to. Have a look online what restaurants and cafes and the types of foods that are available at the place that you're traveling to. And if you have internet access, of course, that's really easy. If you have a smartphone, even easier. There are even apps these days that you can use to find vegetarian-friendly options.
Okay, so what you're saying, tip 1, be prepared. Tip 2, be informed. But let me tell you, Anya, that there are times, and I've been in these circumstances, where you haven't been as diligent on the preparation as perhaps you should have, and you're not well informed, and you find yourself, you're out on the road and bombarded by nothing but fast food options. What do you suggest under those circumstances?
Well, it does happen. So even then, inside of a fast food restaurant, you can make better choices. So make the best choice available and then look forward to the next meal.
Good advice. Be prepared, be informed, and make the best choices available at the time.
I like that. 3 really good tips. Be prepared so that you're going out, whether it even when you're going to work, be prepared and be mindful about packing that lunch and healthy snacks so you don't have to rely on something that you may purchase that might not be as healthy as you want. Be informed. If you know that you're going on a trip, have an idea of where you would be stopping for some healthy food. and then, packing your food, your water, your healthy snacks. But also, as Anya mentioned, make the best choices that you can. So if you're at a restaurant that doesn't necessarily have all the right things that you would like to eat, make the healthiest choice that you possibly can. And then at the next meal, make sure that you make up for it if you need to. But what I really like to say also is that we can all write prescriptions. So I've written thousands of prescriptions over my career. And one of the most exciting prescriptions that I write is for a healthy meal. And oftentimes I actually give this prescription to the waiter or waitress to give to the chef in a restaurant. So let's put up that next slide here. So this is a real prescription that I've actually given out before for the chef to cook my pasta well and add in some spinach and broccoli, a few olives, parsley, herbs, and spices. Please only use a little bit of oil, because oftentimes they take some healthy vegetables and just drown them in oil, which is pure fat. And I say thank you for preparing a healthy meal for me. It's much appreciated. And in situations like that, I think you become more of a loyal customer to that place. And the chef probably appreciates the fact that he's heard something good from you, that he's done something good for you. So you really want to be prescriptive about what you eat and how you live, because you want to be in control of your life. You want to be in control of your health. That is the number one goal. And that's one of the things that the CHIP program allows us to do. It gives us a tool that we can use on a daily basis to be in control of our lives. The next clip is about better choices when eating out again. And we're going to look a little bit more about being informed.
So tell me, what's some of the things when, if you enjoy eating out, what's some things that you should be mindful of for making better choices?
So the first thing to do would be look at the cafes and restaurants available in your area.
Right.
And usually, Mexican, Asian, Middle Eastern, Mediterranean, all those are really good options. Usually have 100% plant-based options available.
Right. Then what?
Well, you arrive at the restaurant, you may have already had a look at the menu online, and while you're looking at the menu, usually, we don't have it here, but usually there's a bread basket, some olive oil or a spread, or if it's a Mexican restaurant, there'll be some nachos and guacamole. Yeah. And they're quite tempting, but try not to get too tempted. A slice is fine, have, a slice of bread.
Okay, but in terms of making the choices from the menu?
Of course, ingredients are quite important. So, for instance, a white creamy sauce would be a lot fattier than a tomato-based sauce. And soy sauces, they're quite high in sodium or salt. Yeah. You can ask for the sauce to be served on the side or the dressing, so you can control how much to put on your food. So, and the final thing is to have a look at the cooking techniques.
Yes.
So obviously grilling and baking is a lot better than frying, especially deep frying.
For obvious reasons.
And steaming is a great option as well.
And then what else?
Have a look at the portion sizes. Usually they're quite
portion
big.
Sizes, yes.
Yeah, just be mindful that the portion sizes are quite big. You might just want to choose a starter and a main, or a main and a dessert, or get 2 starters. If you don't want to share, take the leftovers home with you. Don't be afraid to ask for that.
Yeah. Well, so really, there's 3 things we can be very intentional about: selecting the right kind of restaurants, being aware and intentional about selecting the right kind of ingredients and items from the menu, and then considering how much do we actually need and those portion sizes.
Yeah.
So many great tips there. Looking at a menu online before you even go to the restaurant is helpful, because it puts you in that mindset of, again, being in control of what you're going to eat, being knowledgeable about ingredients, and really being prescriptive. As I mentioned before, you can tell the chef or ask the chef to leave out something, put in something else that is healthier. Substitutions are great. Grilling, baking, and steaming, as Anya mentioned. Portion controls. We seem to oversize everything, and if you're getting an entree, probably most of the time there will be enough food there for the meal and a second one that you can take home with you. Skipping the desserts. I've also read that eating a piece of fruit before your meal, and this was actually studied in some research that I read, eating a salad or vegetables before the meal, but they actually looked at eating a piece of fruit before a meal, decreased the amount of calories that the individuals ate by 300 calories per meal. So doing all those things, which are really simple tips and tricks, really makes a difference. And you want to really be mindful about these things because you want to enjoy the experience of eating food. It's got to be an enjoyable experience. We're going to talk next and look next at the clip number 5, which is really about moving more. When we fix the nutrition piece, we have to think next about what do we do when it comes to moving more in exercise. So we'll look at video clip number 5 next.
So many of us today find ourselves in this kind of situation where it feels like you're chained to your desk. So what's some practical tips we can use to help us move more? Well, the first thing we want to avoid is a situation where this is as much as I need to move throughout the course of the day. In fact, it's a really good thing to inconvenience yourself. For example, have your filing cabinet well away from your desk. So physically you have to get out of your chair to go and access it. I actually have my printer located on a different floor so that I have to go up and down stairs to retrieve my printouts. When talking on the phone, why not stand up? It makes a difference. It's simple, but it's very effective. You can do it at work, but you can also do it at home. And here is another great way of standing up, a standing workstation. And I love these things. It greatly reduces your sit time. And if you find yourself in that situation where you are confined to the boardroom for hours on end, in every 20 to 30 minutes, stand up for 2 minutes. It'll help not just your body, but also your brain. You'll be more attentive and you can think more clearly. Whenever presented with the option to use your legs, be sure to seize that opportunity. For instance, if you have the lift or the stairs, then go the stairs. And sometimes even create your own opportunities to move more. For example, when you go shopping, park further away, be intentional about that. You know, there are so many times where we can opt to use our legs. It might be just standing up for a little while on the train, or ditch the golf buggy, use your legs to get around the course instead. Movement is an opportunity, not an inconvenience.
Right, movement is an opportunity. Practical tips to move more. Darren mentioned inconveniencing yourself, putting his printer on a different floor. I've had a stand-up desk. This is my stand-up desk at the office that I have at home. I have one at work. It really makes a big difference in the way that you feel. And one of the reasons that I actually do this show standing up is because I think I'm more mentally alert when I'm standing up. Darren also mentioned, you know, talking on the phone when if you have to talk on the phone, get up and walk around. One of the things that I do at home and at work is I'll use a wireless headset and I'll put my phone down and I can actually walk around while I have the conversation. Walking meetings, we've done these before at the previous place that I worked, and I think it's a great way to really just show other people that you are committed to staying healthy. You don't have to sit through every meeting, so walking meetings are great. When you see an elevator and you see the stairs, what's the easy choice? It should be taking the stairs. It makes such a difference in the way that you feel, and parking away from the front entrance of the building that you're going into, and just being intentional about activity. It doesn't have to be exercise per se, but you have to be more active on a daily basis. If we really think about the number of minutes in a day, and we will talk about that, it really gets us mindful about how many hours or how many minutes a day we're either lying down or sitting down. And we'll talk about next, you know, what are the important things that you should prioritize? You want to make sure that you do the important things on a daily basis, things that really matter. So we'll look at clip 6, which is finding the time for important things.
Many people ask, where do I find the time to exercise? Imagine this jar represents your day. You have 24 hours, and in that regard, all of our jars are the same size. Now we take the things that you have to get done throughout the course of the day, the big things, the important things, and we place them in the jar until it's full. But is it full? Well, no, there's still room in there to move, isn't there? So I could actually take smaller rocks and actually fill in the gaps. And then even then, once I get to the end, the question can be asked, is it jam-packed? Is it full? Well, no, there's still gaps in there. And so I could take some sand and start to pour in. And as I do, it starts to fall and fill in all those gaps until this is absolutely jam-packed. The point is, as Dr. Stephen Covey, who wrote First Things First, explains, is that unless we put the big rocks in first, we won't get them in at all. And you know, those big rocks represent things like taking care of our health, making time for exercise, eating well, taking time out to relieve our stresses, nurturing our relationships, you know, spending time with our family and friends, and even nurturing our spirituality. You know, unless we put these things in first, they'll be crowded out by the busyness of the day. And so I really encourage you, prioritise that which is truly important. It makes a huge difference to finding the time throughout the course of the day.
So first things first, making sure that you do the things that really matter on a regular basis and that they become habits. And Darren mentioned we only have 24 hours a day, so you have to figure out what it is that's the most important thing that you want to get done. That's 1,440 minutes in a day. And we'll oftentimes ask people to be sure to be active at least 30 to 60 minutes in a day. So you could see how many minutes you have left over if you just take 30 or 60 minutes out of your day to do one of the important things, which is exercise and be active. So if you haven't seen, and I mentioned this many, many times in my presentations, if you haven't seen the video called Make Health Last, that is the number one priority. Health is your number one priority. So make sure that you get that rock in the jar first and prioritize the things that are truly important. And there really is nothing that's more important than your health. For the individuals that have not seen some of the previous episodes, they are archived at chiphealth.com/AskDrSal. So you can go on that website and see shows that were previously live. And again, before we get to the questions and focus on that, I want to mention again that we have Dr. Jennifer Lovejoy on the next session, Managing Stress During a Global Pandemic. So we'll see if there are any questions. Do we have any suggestions for vegan food for glucosamine? Well, glucosamine, you know, is anything that you're putting in your body that's an antioxidant is tremendously important. And I think, and again, I don't necessarily like to use the word vegan. I like to use the terms plant-based foods or whole foods, because what we're really doing is we're looking for all the micronutrients, all the macronutrients that we need to stay healthy, the vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants. So my recommendations are always the same. Eat whole foods, eat lots of plants, eat non-animal-based proteins. You have to be sure to get enough protein in your system. It's interesting, in our office, we have what's called the in-body body composition machine. And this is a really great machine because it not only tells you what your weight and BMI is, but it also tells you your percent body fat and, almost more importantly, your skeletal muscle mass. You want to be sure that you're getting enough protein in, because on a plant-based diet, with the fact that you're eating a lot of volume, oftentimes you don't eat enough food because your stomach gets full quicker. And if you're not eating enough calories and not getting enough protein, that could be a problem. And also remember that you need vitamin B12 if you're eating more plant-based foods. Can we get a copy of that prescription? Yes, I'm sure that I can get a copy of the prescription, but what's really interesting is, you know, you can put anything on that prescription, and you can give it to family and friends. You could give it to the waiter in the restaurant. Anything that allows you to take the 6 pillars of lifestyle medicine and other things. That's not the only things that we should focus on. But writing that prescription really makes it intentional as far as what you're looking to accomplish. So, you know, the purpose of today's show is really to help individuals be mindful about the fact that we in America have created or have had this environment put on us that really maximizes convenience, but unfortunately decreases our health. If you really look at the health of the population over the last 50 years, it's gone down in so many different areas. We're seeing young children now, adolescents and younger, with type 2 diabetes, which is really supposed to be a disease of adults. We're seeing high blood pressure and heart disease and high cholesterol in younger and younger people. I diagnose individuals in their 40s now with cardiovascular disease, which used to be unheard of in the past. So we've created an environment that's filled with conveniences, but filled with a lot of unhealthy behaviors. There is a question, do you advise antioxidants to patients with breast cancer? Absolutely. You know, antioxidants, if you think about what an antioxidant is, it's almost like if you take a piece of metal and you leave it out in the rain and it gets rusty. When you have too much oxidation in your cells, the cells can't function properly. So everyone needs antioxidants. That really keeps all of your cells healthy. Where do you get your antioxidants from? Many people will take vitamins and supplements. Where you should get all of your vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants from is your food. So the greater the diversity of your food, eating the rainbow, as we say, really allows you to get all of those vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants in. And nutrition is so important. I find it hard to believe that so many of the cancer patients that I see have never had a discussion with their physician, because it really should be physician driven, about food. And in a situation where you're dealing with cancer and you have to treat it and try to reverse it and prevent it from getting worse, food is so important. So, you know, I talk to all of my cancer patients about making sure that they're eating highly nutritious food, making sure that they're not getting any animal protein and dairy into their system, because those are the things that really contribute to cancer formation, and really making lifestyle an easy choice, healthy lifestyle an easy choice, so that you can recover from such a devastating disease. Wilma asks, can diabetes really be reversed? If so, what is the best resource to proceed? Well, one book that comes to mind is Managing Diabetes by Cyrus Kambata and Robbie Barbaro, I think his last name is. The reason I like that book is these are two young guys that have type 1 diabetes, used to be on very high amounts of insulin, and now they are eating plant-based foods, lots of plant-based carbohydrates. Their A1Cs are running around 5.5, which is completely normal. Absolutely, diabetes can be reversed. I see it every single day. I have a new patient in my practice now that we have on a strict plant-based diet and exercise, and her numbers are coming down. It really makes such a significant difference when you do the right things with nutrition and activity and all of the other pillars of lifestyle medicine. The short answer is, if you want to manage your diabetes, if you want to manage your health, if you want to manage your heart disease and every other chronic illness that we can talk about, think about using all of the tenets that we learn from the CHIP program. This is a solution for the healthcare crises that we have and have had for so long now. And going forward, helping individuals understand the importance of nutrition and activity and all of the things that you learn in the CHIP program makes a dramatic impact on your risk for disease, on the incidence of disease going forward, on the quality of your life, your productivity, your happiness. It just has so many benefits. So we're about 6 minutes over time. I want to thank everyone again, thank my producer, Daryl Ludington, and everyone that's listening to the program. Please tell your friends, family, colleagues, coworkers, tell your physicians about this program. They need to know more about this healthcare solution called CHIP. And I will see you all next week, same time, same place. God bless. See you then.